we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. On infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections.
If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who want it until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious.
Violence and vandalism is being led by Antifa and other radical left-wing groups who are terrorizing the innocent, destroying jobs, hurting businesses, and burning down buildings. They are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Greetings, fellow thought criminals, and thank you for joining the insurrection. I'm Michael Lauber, and today I'm joined by Andrew Mueller from The New American. How you doing this morning, Andrew?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Michael.
Well, thank you for being here. And of course, you can find Andrew right here on X American News every Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern for his program, American Made. And again, this is something you guys should be checking out every week. Andrew, you do fantastic work, especially linking our history to the present, or really parsing what's going on today, especially stories the media doesn't want to cover or doesn't want to cover honestly. But I want to apologize for being late. We were having some tech issues behind the scenes. I had to run a bunch of updates on this computer yesterday, and one of them apparently was in conflict, and we didn't know that till a few minutes ago. But let's jump right into it, because the redistricting war has begun. The left is just beside themselves, apoplectic. They can't believe that they have to follow the law in Virginia and can't redistrict because of the state regulations. At the same time, the Supreme Court is forcing Louisiana to redistrict before the election, because of course that's the spin that we're hearing from everybody. And all the usual players have jumped in despite their hypocrisy. We're going to pull this up to glaring hypocrisy as the NAACP and others file emergency motion to halt redistricting in Louisiana. And as somebody noticed, they're literally arguing against themselves right now. The argument that they're making for why Virginia should be allowed to redistrict directly conflicts with the argument they're making in Louisiana on why they shouldn't be able to redistrict. But again, I don't expect any kind of consistency from the left, especially from a bunch of these race-baiting poverty pimps.
Yeah, I mean, what goes around comes around, all's fair in love and war, right? I mean, it's not like we're rigging the census like the left has by counting illegal immigrants. It's not like we're encouraging, voter fraud. We're using the tools at our disposal. And, honestly, a lot of these redistrictings, particularly in Florida, they're very reasonable. The Ron DeSantis redistricting that just went through, I had a buddy of mine, he took the colors off of it and made it black and white and asked multiple AIs which one of these is more fair and even based on population and demographic. And they all said the new DeSantis redistricting, just based on the facts of it. So, I don't know the same is true for Louisiana or Virginia, but I don't think that this is out of play. I think that it is completely reasonable to redistrict and be able to do this. And I'll just add that even if we redistrict and have a couple more Republicans in Congress, let's just say, that does not make up even still for the mass voter fraud the left has committed through rigging the census, having illegals vote, the elections they've stolen, mail-in voting, absentee voter fraud, etc. So this is the cat calling the kettle black in the purest sense of the euphemism. And I'm here for it, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, my big thing is they essentially used racial blackmail, try to play on people's guilt for the last, 50-something years to keep these districts in place, 60-something years, to keep these districts in place and manipulate the outcome of the elections, because every one of these districts, like, make no mistake, if there was like a solid black area in one of these states, especially in the inner city, that voted solid Republican, you would never see the NAACP, the Democrats, or anybody else argue that that district should be maintained. Instead, it should be, they would argue that it needed to be somehow diluted or joined with another district so that their voice could be suppressed. They don't care about any of this. Look at what the entire Northeast corridor and how gerrymandered that is, or Illinois or California or other places for that matter. That's part of why the left is freaking out, is they've already gerrymandered every state they have into oblivion to try to ensure that no Republicans can hold any seats, or if they can, it's one or two throughout the whole state. You know, as we've seen with Massachusetts and Connecticut and other states in the Northeast, that even if they have 48% of their state voters, the residents, are registered Republicans, they have one seat or 0 seats in Congress because they've manipulated the map in a way that they will control power. And this is part of the hypocrisy here with both the League of Women Voters and with the NAACP. Is this is not about any sort of purity or ideals that they hold dear. They will argue on either side of this. It's whatever is politically convenient and whatever grants more power to the Democrats and the left. And guys, all you Republicans in various states around the South, I know the DOJ is getting involved in trying to force your states to be in compliance with this ruling that's come down from the Supreme Court. But you guys should be acting on your own. Most of you should be. In the rest of the states around the country that talked about redistricting before and backed down, I'm looking at you, Utah, Indiana, Tennessee's finally come around to things now. But these are also additional pickups. We've got to start playing to win. And I get that this particular Supreme Court ruling does not apply in some of these other states necessarily. But again, guys, if you have power, the left will always use it, and they will use it to dominate you. And we can't just go, "Oh, gee, Democrats, you got to play fair." That doesn't fly anymore. We are fighting for the country right now. Things really are on a precipice, and we have to take action within the power that the people have granted us to dominate this next election cycle, because otherwise the country is cooked.
Yep, precisely. Yeah, you have to play the game, and it's unfortunate. Politics is, not a always particularly easy business to operate in. But we're doing this legally, lawfully, and hey, if you don't like it, elections have consequences, right? That's the phrase we're
Yeah.
always told.
Yeah, exactly, and applies to other things. But yeah, the other story that's making it out there is Justice Alito blasts Ketanji Brown Jackson as Supreme Court fast tracks Louisiana's redistricting judgment ahead of midterm elections. I guess Ketanji Brown Jackson put down her crayons long enough to write a response to this, and again, it plays on the same thing. Now, the left right now wants this 32-day rule before enforcement to go into effect. But as Alito has pointed out, like, when it is a constitutional question like this, and that the courts have determined that the left's argument is on the wrong side constitutionally, I wonder how that could possibly happen, that things have to be remedied, and they have to be remedied for the next election. You don't allow the injustice to continue, because it isn't just through this election. It would be for the next 2 years that rep would then be in power. So you don't allow that to just continue, just to keep the left happy. The rest of these excuses, and that's what they are. They would never make these arguments if the situation were reversed, and everybody knows it. And I think some of the conservatives on the court are finally putting their foot down, like, you know what, you guys want to talk out of both sides of your mouth on whatever's convenient whenever we make a ruling, and you're going to have to pick a position and be consistent and be in line with the Constitution. We're not going to continue this to allow this injustice, this usurpation of power, because that's what it is. It's stripping the people in the area of their power, forcing them to have a seat that is Democrat controlled, even though the states are solid red. This would never fly if it were the other way around. It's time to put our dig in our heels and actually fight.
Yep. And I think the point is well received that if the shoe was on the other foot, this would not be acceptable, right? So, Ketanji Brown Jackson, unfortunately, if you can't define what a male or a female is, you probably shouldn't be having an affair or a, role to play within the realm of geopolitics, our Constitution, principles, legal questions that affect literally millions of people. So Alito, I'm glad he is pushing back on this. these sorts of situations does make me wonder, who's Donald Trump is going to put on the court to potentially replace Clarence Thomas, because Alito and Thomas are really the best we have, and Thomas is better than Alito in my opinion.
Yep.
And we really need to get some solid constitutionalists on the court to be able to push back against Ketanji Brown Jackson and those like her, because unfortunately, the way the layout has been on the Supreme Court is that these people are going to be in there for the rest of their lives, even though I think there's a good case to be made for impeaching them.
Yeah, agreed. And the left is already considering this. Graham, whatever his name is, the Nazi that's running as a Democrat up in Maine. He's already talked about this. He hasn't named who the justices are, but he said that 2 justices on the Supreme Court need to be impeached, and then they need to stack the court. Well, I wonder which 2 of those could be. It couldn't possibly be Thomas and Alito. So the left has made... They are not keeping their plans secret. It really is just our media refusing to provide context or bring up these kind of facts when they'd be pertinent to a story, because, again, their job isn't to inform you, it's to manipulate you. And again, if we were living in reality on some of these things and there was some level of consistency, I could at least understand their arguments. But I'm just sick and tired of this. It's whatever's convenient, it's whatever we need at the time. We have no positions. We will talk out both sides of our mouth, and whatever we need to retain or gain power, that is our position right now, this second, at this time. And we're going to get to this later, but you guys in Virginia are really seeing the effects of this now, that apparently you're going to get taxed on your gym memberships over there too. And then the rogue judges. This is another area where Congress really needs to act. But judge apologizes to Trump's would-be assassin for his harsh treatment in jail. Let's keep in mind, this is the same activist judge that even when Muriel Bowser had said, yes, we need federal help to clean up crime in D.C., and others in the area had gotten on board. This is the judge that tried to block deployment of the National Guard to clean up D.C. He is again, it's whatever narrative they think they need to spend. He's also gotten in the way of filing charges for a few different cases in D.C. One of the, I can't remember which one it was. I don't remember if it was the sandwich thrower or one of the other cases with the Trump administration. Again, took a ridiculous position to have a case thrown out. Yeah, it couldn't have been the sandwich guy. It was somebody else. One of the other cases. But again, this guy's an activist, and you can kind of tell from his bow tie and pinstripe shirt there. He's another theater kid. He's another person like Ketanji Brown Jackson. I don't know how all these people get into power, but they are not there to do their job. They are there to be activists, and we need to remove them.
I was just about to say, pinstripe suits I really like, but the bow tie with the pinstripe and the baby blue shirt, it's not doing it. It is theater kid. It looks like he's some sort of a Batman character.
He's making a fashion statement.
Yeah, right, exactly. So yeah, that's a little bit of a red flag right there. But yeah, this is ridiculous, of course. I think we need to make jails jail again. None of this, cushiness, none of these gourmet meals, Oprah Winfrey, Netflix subscriptions at your fingertips. I want to get back to a jail that's busting rocks. So I have very little sympathy for this sort of, nonsense.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I do think we are in need of real prison reform, like prison itself. So one of the problems now is putting in violent felons with people that commit white collar nonviolent crimes, and then they come out hardened criminals. But I mean, that's another show for another day. But regardless, prison's not supposed to be a fun experience. So unless this guy was getting, blanket parties from the guards every night after he went to sleep, and they were just beating him, with a pillowcase with soap in it or something, I don't want to hear about it. Otherwise, this guy's in prison for a reason. He tried to assassinate President Trump. He was there to kill people. He shot a Secret Service agent. This is not a good person then. So, once again, the left has all this mercy for criminals, and then instead, they don't care about the victims, but at least not when it's convenient, especially when the skin colors line up the right way. Then one group's always the victim, one group's always the victimizer. It doesn't matter what the evidence is to present a contrary to that. But this is the their thought pattern. This is all they really care about. And once again, it's about gaining power, solidifying power. It isn't about justice. It's not about a principle or a moral stand or anything else. This is just who these people are. They think that this assassination attempt is perfectly acceptable because it lines up with their worldview. They can't win at the ballot box. They've already moved on to the cartridge box. Our side just hasn't figured that out yet.
Yep, that's right.
Well, let's jump here to our next story here. This is a great article you've got up. After years of lawfare, Alex Jones' InfoWars shuts down. And again, make no mistake, this is lawfare. This is the left weaponizing the courts, using judges that should, or these are judges that we should be expelling, but for whatever reason, our side lacks the courage to do what is necessary to save the country. And this case against Alex Jones, like from the beginning, is BS. And that's really what we need to focus on. I mean, everybody laughs about him getting sued for the GDP of France, but I mean, that's ridiculous in and of itself. But the fact that they did not allow him to provide a real defense and basically just ramrodded this through. He never had a trial. They basically had a sentencing hearing for Alex Jones, and I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah, this case is so significant because it really is like the formula, the model that will be used against everybody else moving forward. Alex Jones is the easiest target for this because, of course, he's bombastic. He's, makes a lot of, outlandish claims on the surface. But when you actually look into what he reports on, a lot of it ends up being true. Alex Jones has accurately analyzed the movements of the deep state. He's done this through, intensive research into the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations. He's infiltrated the Bohemian Club in California and the Redwoods, and has made documentaries on this. This guy has been a pioneer. He's been a patriot in this field of investigative journalism, exposing the global elite. And what he got in, return for that was a complete and utter ridiculous lawfare case trying to destroy him, not just as a media outfit, but as an individual. They want to bankrupt him. He was sued for like $1.5 billion for talking about the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in 2012. And he did call it a hoax. And he did, talk about crisis actors and things like that. But so what? He's a media guy. He has a podcast. It's with equipment he owns. He can say whatever the heck he wants. This is a First Amendment situation. And if you want to talk about defamation, if you want to talk about hate speech and violence, what about calling Trump a racist? What about calling Tucker Carlson an anti-Semite? What is about all these political actors who have told, right-wingers they have blood on their hands and that they're Ku Klux Klan and white supremacists? Isn't that just as damaging, if not more damaging, than Alex Jones saying, hey, you know what? School shootings are often used as a vessel for gun restriction and gun grabbing. Maybe this is a hoax with crisis actors to do that. Like, let's just put aside if that's true or not and discuss the fact that people make comments like that all the time. And the rhetoric against Donald Trump and against right-wingers has resulted in 3 assassination attempts on our president, and nobody's being sued for $1.5 billion. And yet Alex Jones talks about a shooting that's over a decade ago, and they're trying to destroy him. So all that to say is that this is the formula that's going to be used against everybody else. They're going to take things that we say, they're going to twist it, they're going to lie, they're going to sue at outlandish costs, they're going to make, show trial, kangaroo court style, illusions out of the legalness of it. And when you look at Alex Jones's trials, they were literally done in like an HBO format for TV to make a documentary off of it. And then you go and look at the lawyers and the law firms that are going after Jones. It's the same cast of characters who have gone after right-wingers before. This is ridiculous. It's absurd. And now you have The Onion taking over InfoWars and using the InfoWars platform.
Poorly, I might add.
To horribly to push Satanism. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, and again, let's go back to this case. Like, yes, some of the personal attacks that Jones levied against some of the parents were out of line. But even his crazy conspiracy theories, there's something to at least some of them, at least the crisis actors. I mean, how do you have some of these same people popping up at multiple school shootings? And I don't remember the woman's name that was one of the crisis actors, according to Jones, down there at Sandy Hook. But, again, there's somebody ought to be looking into this. You would think the media would ask at least a few questions, but they won't. It's about setting a narrative. And this is about crushing and punishing Alex Jones because he's been a thorn in their side for decades. He's revealed a lot of this dirty dealing, backroom smoke-filled rooms nonsense that goes on at Bilderberg and Bohemian Grove and wherever else, and who else is connected to this stuff. And again, he's connected a lot of things that our media refuses to even examine. Again, it's not like this guy is off base, but he's a thorn in their side, and that's why they want him silenced. And as you said, this was a production. This isn't about truth or justice or anything else. Had they granted the Sandy Hook parents a few $1 million for defamation or something like that, I don't think any of us would be crying or complaining about, at least not to this level. Again, Jones is entitled to his opinion, but had this been something reasonable and not using this as a way to just bankrupt him and shut him down and silence his voice, because make no mistake, that's what they want to do. That isn't what's going to happen. Jones he's already bounced back. He's already got AJN, the Alex Jones Network, and I don't remember what his new website is, but everything's basically just shifted over.
AlexJonesLive.com.
Yeah, there you go, AlexJonesLive.com. So they're not going to actually accomplish anything. They're just trying to make life difficult. But this is what they do. This is the whole point of lawfare. It's weaponizing the courts, and as we see in numerous incidents, both against Trump, against Alex Jones, against anybody on the right. And this has to stop. We can't be a country of lawfare. This has happened one other previous time in our history. We had to shut it down then, and we need to shut this stuff down now. Congress needs to act, remove a lot of these activist judges, overturn things like this. They're just assaults on our rights and assaults on free speech. And we need to get back to, again, living under a constitution that would solve most of our problems.
Yeah, exactly. And, Alex Jones, he has been labeled a conspiracy theorist and a kook and this, that, and the other. But honestly, I gotta be real. I've looked into Alex Jones. I've listened to him. 99% of what the guy says is true. Like, he just delivers it in a very outlandish, bombastic, kind of exaggerated way. But that's just the way he is. He's this larger than life character. But, fluoride making, people a certain way, things in the water turning the frogs gay, 9/11, the wars, the Bohemian Club, satanic rituals, child trafficking, etc. Like, he ended up being right about a lot of this stuff. And even if he didn't get the exact specifics around the details exactly right, the heart of what he was saying, the concepts that he was predicting, the strategies, the formulas, the method of operations of the global elites, he was right about all along. And he's the easiest person to get because he's bombastic, because he's exaggerated. But once they get him, they will be going for the next targets. They will be going for, the Turning Point USAs, the John Birch Societies, the Mises Institutes, the whatever. Insert the organization that goes against, the global elite and the deep state. They will be next in line. So people need to rally around Alex Jones. I highly encourage people to check out AlexJonesLive.com. I don't benefit in any way saying that. I'm not a partner. I don't make any money with them. I'm not associated. But I really do believe that if we don't hang together, we will hang separately, as Franklin said.
Yep. Well, again, let's not forget who these people are. And if we had Kamala Harris in office right now instead of President Trump, this stories like this would continue. Same with the harassment of Jones. DOJ uncovers numerous ways the Biden admin devastated the lives of many Christian Americans. Let me go ahead and pull the next story here, too. IRS weaponized Johnson Amendment to target conservative pastors while ignoring liberals, DOJ finds. These are two internal investigations that were running in parallel at the DOJ, looking into some of the weaponization that occurred under Biden. They will not hesitate to use their power to influence courts and to target their political opposition while ignoring crimes on their own side. Again, right now everybody's talking about this SPLC indictment that's come down. This was started under Biden's DOJ, and they just shelved it. They knew exactly what was going on. They knew that they were funding the Klan. They chose to look another direction. Look, a lot of these two stories, part of it's about the FACE Act and how that was used. Again, they ignore all the incidents of the left attacking churches, going after Christians. Literally setting them on fire there for a little while. I remember we covered a bunch of incidents there after Roe v. Wade, where they were literally attacking churches, trying to burn them down all over the country. Because again, this is who the left is. They always react violently. But again, this is part of why we need Congress to act. We need real reform. We have to remove these activists that have embedded themselves within our government, within our courts, within different departments. And there have to be consequences for the people that weaponize these institutions against the American people.
Yep. And the Johnson Amendment's always been a sham. I don't think it's ever really been fully used or applied to a church before. It's just a fear tactic that hangs over pastors' heads to say, hey, if you stand on conviction, if you stand on principle, you're going to get in trouble. And by the way, churches are not for profit, tax exempt organizations. So apparently is the SPLC and other organizations that do political things, and look at how much they're able to get away with. So a church at minimum should be able to say like, hey, abortion's wrong. You have an inherent God-given right to defend yourself. These sorts of statements are not political, they're truth. And the IRS has targeted and terrified churches for decades with this silly Johnson Amendment requirement, hanging it over their heads. It has to be removed. And I know Trump has done some things to try to push towards getting rid of the Johnson Amendment. Did he ever actually get successful in that and removing it?
Nope. But
I didn't think he did.
To your point, like it's a one-way street again.
Right.
We watch Democrats speak from the pulpit, weaponize churches constantly. Barack Obama did it. Hillary Clinton did it. Remember the famous
Al Sharpton, Reverend
Al Sharpton. Yeah. Well, the left does it all the time, and it's perfectly acceptable. But the minute you get some pastor, that has the courage to talk about abortion or LGBTQ MS-13 nonsense in our schools or whatever, the IRS has their thumb up their ass and is immediately it's all on the line. Their tax exempt status is threatened. They start investigations. They'll do private audits of every person that works there. They will use the law to oppress their political enemies no matter what. And again, they will look the other way when the situation is reversed. So even when it's blatant, I mean, some of the stuff that we see at some of these air quote Democrat churches, which I don't even know if they really consider them churches, but it is blatant, is what this law is intended to stop, the propagandizing from the pulpit. But honestly, at this point, it is a free speech issue. Just do away with it. And then maybe some of these more conservative-leaning pastors can find their testicles and actually start fighting back, telling the congregation, because some of these are moral issues. Like you said, abortion, the LGBTQ nonsense. There's a lot of things that the churches should be taking a firm stand on, but are afraid to. And that is pathetic. But that's the state that we're in right now.
Yep, that's right. Yep, and it's purely just towards evangelical churches, Catholic churches that are, making a stand because they know, and when I say they, I'm talking about, the insiders of the deep state. They know that if churches actually talk about politics and they apply biblical truth to politics, the word of God does not come back void, that it will be powerful, that it will actually impact society and change politics and policy. And they know that if that happens, they will lose power, they will lose influence, and that perhaps we might have a Christian nation again, America first, that's rooted in biblical values as the founding fathers intended, as the Pilgrims intended. So they don't want that, and that's why they've hung this over the heads. And I have to say, it's very discouraging when you see pastors in particular are supposed to be these leaders, these flock, shepherds, and they are more concerned about IRS standing than they are the truth, which is contained in the Bible. And that's unfortunate. Of course, that's not for everybody, but that's for some. And we have to repeal this and allow churches to be able to speak freely. But they don't need the license to do that. They have the inherent right.
Well, you're exactly right, and you're exactly right too. With this, really is what the Democrats do not want. They do not want us to return to a Christian nation with a moral foundation where people will be outraged, rightly so, about a lot of their activity, both in Congress and in their personal lives. These people are trash dirtbags that would, even just 20, 30 years ago, most of these people would have been marched out of office for things that they've done, things that they've said. But there is no courage. Our morality is now flexible. And we need to go back to return to being a Christian nation, push back against this globalist movement before we lose our country. I mean, we look at what else is going on around the world. All right. Let's try to sneak in a few more stories here. Senator Rand Paul calls out the DOJ, warns agency has only 1 week left to charge Fauci for lying to Congress about gain of function. If you guys remember, I think it was in June, it might have been July, that Congress sent over 18 criminal referrals, Fauci being one of them. And nothing has been done about this yet. Now, I know part of that is because the DOJ has quietly dropped the case against President Otto Penn and all these unlawful pardons. But again, I don't understand why. Why are we not pursuing all these avenues? I mean, the Hunter Biden's pardon is the only one that was actually signed by Biden. There's very little evidence to support he even knew most of these other pardons were being issued in his name. And I don't think Fauci was one of the ones where he was even copied on the emails. It was just done by his aides. Now, I could be wrong about that. I would have to go back and double check that. I didn't think about that till just now. But regardless, we have to take these people down. Something has to be done. This is what people voted for. We have to at least try to fight, especially with this other indictment that have come down against Fauci's assistant, his second banana there. Everybody knows what went on, and the weaponization that, once again, occurs under the left, and honestly, with some of the uniparty right people on the right during COVID. This was their big plan to put in sweeping systems that will allow them to gain even more power over the civilians, and again, flex their muscle to expand tyranny.
Yeah, well, lying to Congress might have a statute of limitations, but you know what doesn't? Mass murder. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll still be able to get him regardless. But I have zero hope that Congress will actually do that within the next week. It's just
No.
not going to happen. But we don't have to be limited by the statute of limitations. We can get this guy on other things. But it is discouraging that it's like 6 years now. And nothing has happened. And, I guess you could say is in terms of years, the 6th time or the 7th time's the charm in actually doing it, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
And frankly, Michael, I was talking with a doctor friend the other day and I said, would there ever even be a shot at having some sort of accountability or justice for what happened during COVID? And he said, frankly, there probably isn't. There really is no way to repay or to settle all of the deaths, all of the damages that were done, the loss of money in the economy, the businesses that closed down, the families that lives were destroyed because their loved one died of turbo cancer, myocarditis. I can't even
Myocarditis.
myocarditis. Maybe I took the COVID shot. I'm just kidding. No,
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you're not going to be able to have full accountability, but at least we can do is go after the top people, right? The low hanging fruit, the Morens of the world, the Faucis of the world, the Burks of the world. What happened to her, right? The Scarf Lady.
Yeah.
I mean, she disappeared into oblivion. Like, you cannot allow these cast of characters to ride off into the sunset and have complete immunity. It's ridiculous. So I'm not a fan of it. I really do think that Congress is showing their true colors by not accepting this. And actually prosecuting these people. And when you have Republicans and Democrats who are standing in King Charles's speech, applauding when he's talking about Ukraine and sending our sons to die in foreign wars and supporting climate change, you really do start to see that there is a uniparty. They get a lot of the same money from the same outfits, and actually prosecuting Jeffrey Epstein, prosecuting Fauci, prosecuting, big pharmaceutical companies like Pfizer or Moderna. It would result in the loss of capital, the loss of power, and the loss of influence in their power economy that they've created up there. And that is why we need to have Christian people who are in Congress who, when they take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and domestic, they're willing to do that, even if it means the loss of their own personal lives, fortunes, and sacred honors.
Yeah.
That's why I have a lot of respect for Thomas Massey, because I think he's doing that with regards to Epstein.
Yeah, we need more of that. I mean, again, this is our big problem. We keep going back to is we keep putting these rhinos up there that do not fight for us, do not fight for our values, and are there to serve the uniparty. We have to end that, and there have to be consequences for stuff like this. Okay, fine, Fauci's got a pardon. We can still go after and prosecute everyone else that was involved in that, and you can force him to come in to testify because he no longer has any immunity. And guess what? If he lies under oath, then it's a new crime. That he's no longer has the protection from the pardon. But once again, you have to find your testicles. You have to have people in Congress that are actually willing to use the power we've given them. And I don't know what it's going to take to do that. I mean, I keep hearing that, that with the Epstein stuff, well, there's big donors on both sides on this list. Well, too bad. They all need to go to jail, and then that'll fix the problem. If we don't get out from under this yoke now, we never will, because I don't know that we'll have another chance to. So it's time to act. It's time for justice. It's time to remove all these people. I don't know what's going on at the DOJ. They love to toot their own horn and go out for the photo ops because they did something that should have been done 10 years ago. And I still haven't seen one real arrest. They're teasing that they're going to get Brennan. I am sick and tired of this. I want to get one of your other stories in here real quick. Because again, I think this is another problem that's going on in the background that we're not willing to address. Censorship in disguise. Congress introduces anti-Semitism resolution. I mean, I don't understand why this is the focus. We already have laws against this stuff. We don't need more. We don't need more censorship. I thought we were all supposed to have equal protection under the law. But again, this keeps getting out of control because they love their victim classes.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous, ridiculous situation. We've seen it down here in Florida. We've seen it up in, the Ivy League universities where they take this, phrase anti-Semitism, and they take that and they apply it and to codify it into law. Where
Yeah.
if you say something that's considered anti-Semitic, you can lose your stance at your university. You could be prosecuted. You see these stories of mayors in Florida who are going to people's homes and showing them, tweets that they made or comments they made on social media about Jews or, Israel or whatever. And they're saying, this is anti-Semitic. You need to answer for this. And I'm against anti-Semitism. I'm against hate. I'm against it towards any person, whether it be French or Germans or, Australians or whatever. But what so nefarious about the anti-Semitic phrase and the loaded language behind it in these laws is that if you question AIPAC, if you question U.S. support for Israel, if you question, why we're fighting certain wars, if you question, Benjamin Netanyahu and his leftist administration in Jerusalem, you are going to be labeled an anti-Semite under those definitions. So then having a political opinion becomes illegal. You see what I'm saying? It's absolutely ridiculous. And yet we don't do this for Caucasians. There's no anti-Caucasian speech law, right? Where you talk about whites in a bad way and you get in trouble. Or you don't have racist laws towards African Americans. It's just, why are we doing it just for anti-Semitism, right? And I think when you peel back the onion enough, it's so that people will be intimidated not to question the unholy alliance between the United States and the state of Israel. So that is what it is, in my opinion.
Well, and that is exactly what it is. And again, creating any kind of protected class, no matter who it is wrong. We shouldn't be doing this. You're allowed to have opinions that are bad or opinions other people don't like or make people upset. But you can't have this constant protectionism. It's got to stop. And again, we have to end this across the board because you do have laws like this and that are selectively enforced, like hate crime laws and other things that are abused, and these create opportunities for these leftist judicial activists and the ones on the right too to again resort to their opinion rather than actual law and actual calling this stuff out, removing it. You can't have special protections for anybody. We have to all have equal protection under the law. I know you're about out of time. You got to run. So is any words of wisdom you want to leave the audience with here real quick before you got to go, Andrew?
Yeah, well, I think it's speaking the truth, right? As we see these laws being passed, we see, people not getting, the justice they deserve, whether it be Fauci or whether it be, Jeffrey Epstein's cohorts. And then all the while we see a relentless pursuit of lawfare against the innocent, like Alex Jones, for example.
Yeah.
We see that we are living in a topsy-turvy world. And the solution to that is speaking truth. The solution to that is being informed. I would highly encourage people to listen to these broadcasts on X American News, to share them out with your friends, not just to consume it for yourself. We don't want to be the most educated person in the gulag, right? We want to share it with others so we don't have to enter the gulag.
Exactly.
You can check out my work at libertysentinel.org. You can sign up for our free newsletter there. We send out multiple mailers a week for free. That's Liberty Sentinel, SENTINEL.org. And actually, I do just got to give a shameless plug for this because it just came in the mail yesterday. I just got it. This is the New American's latest magazine, Conspiracy for Global Control. It's a fantastic magazine. In this, we lay out the deep state and its issues. This is very high quality. We have foldouts that actually expose like the Council on Foreign Relations. This is a list of members of the Council on Foreign Relations and various departments within our government. It is a true, well-researched tool for you to be able to hand out to your friends. And if you order, like, I think it's over 10 copies, they drop down to like $2 a piece. We hardly make any money on them. We break even. It's very expensive to print something like this. So you can check that out at thenewamerican.com or shopjbs.org. I've got an article in there on America fomenting revolutions around the world, Iran, China, Russia. So be educated. That is the final word. Be educated, and then share that education with others.
Well said. And again, guys, go pick that up. Again, get 10 copies. Go actually educate your friends, your family. We have to actually win this war and save the country. And we can't be distracted with all these other just nonsense things that get pushed. Again, Andrew, thank you for being here. To our audience, thank you for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want.